If you look at the American Constitution, redundancy of protection against government power was one of its central themes. And so we are very ambitious. We use both of these kinds of arrangements in extremely complicated ways. We have separation of powers at the federal level, and we have, at least at the time of the original Constitution, a very complicated system of federalism that tries to reserve some things for the federal governments and something for the states. And essentially what happens is these whole structural sets of precautions start from a presumption of liberty in the following sense. If in fact you believe that liberty is an important thing, and if you think that governments could be subject to various kinds of influences and pressures that are less than ideal, what you try to do is to make the burden of enacting laws a little bit more heavy than it would be if you thought that everybody who had to decide upon these issues was some kind of a disinterested soul. And therefore, you slow things down. You manage to smash things up. You allow branch to check branch and all the rest of that. And this was actually fairly well understood and clearly articulated by James Madison when he described this entire system in Federalist 51, I believe, where you set ambition against ambition. You have to be aware, of course, that sometimes when you put these machines into operation, they can spin out of control. But I think that virtually everybody who was involved in the organization of the American government, or indeed any others, understood that a constitution was a high-risk venture. It's a republic, not a republican. It's a republic if you can keep it. By Benjamin Franklin, who was at the convention, was essentially a perfectly sensible notion to indicate this is a precarious idea. And if you just have structures and rules and procedures that you think are right, and you get all the wrong people in all the wrong places at all the wrong time, the whole thing will essentially go down. So the secret of success in many ways is to be deeply aware of the very heavy possibility of failure. Hope that that can be institutionalized culturally so that when people start to take their own offices, they realize of the terrible dangers that could exist if they push their own administrative, legal, legislative, or executive powers to the limit, because that's going to provoke a response on the other side, and it turns out that you could easily spin out of control, and once that happens, no set of constitutional guidelines, given that they're always incomplete in certain decisive ways, are going to be able to protect you.